Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Pickspace AI Property Podcast. I'm Maor Cohen, founder and CEO of Pickspace, a smart platform that simplifies property management. In each episode, I will speak with industry leaders that explores and to see what works, what's changing, and where the industry is headed. Let's jump into today's conversation with our guest, Crystal Chavarria, Director of Operation at REMG Real Estate Management Group. Crystal, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really looking forward to diving into your journey and hearing more about REMG's role in the multifamily space. So please start with a background. I would love to give our listening a sense of how you got into the multifamily industry and what shaped your approach to operations and leadership.
Well, hey Mayor, thank you for having me. Uh, how I got started. So I am a full-time mom of a 12-year-old and a 16-year-old here in Atlanta, Georgia. I started in property management back in 2015 when I moved from a large national bank. I was a CSSR for a few years, and I came over as a property management at a B/C property in Forest Park, Georgia. It did take some adjusting, but I was fortunate in a couple of ways that have led to me being successful over the past. The owner, Joe, has been in property management since the early 70s, so about 50 years. He was really instrumental into my teaching. He pretty much taught me everything I know. And all of the fundamentals. I was also fortunate enough to work with like an experienced regional manager who she was very effective at rate collections and also building rapport with residents. It also helped that I spoke Spanish and English because I could communicate with a larger number of people. Around 2020, I moved into property management accounting while I was working on my BBA. This is kind of where I really got the fundamentals of underwriting new deals, understanding the performers, the higher level portfolio management, and just making sure that the assets were on track to reach the value for a sell. So a few years ago, I moved into the director of operations role. That's where I've kind of gotten the chance to fuse the management operations and the financial operations, just to create as much value as possible. So that's a little bit about myself.
Thank you for sharing. So it seems like from accounting all the way to site visits and KPIs, it sounds like you wear a lot of different hats.
Yes.
What parts of your job keeps you up at night, and what's the hardest thing to get right constantly?
I think what keeps me up at night, just the change of the entire industry. It has completely changed from where it was a couple years back. We've seen now with the interest rates going up high and the rent increases that just, I think, hit a record high a couple years ago, and now they're gone due to the influx of so many new structures and apartment dwellings. That has completely changed our landscape, and that really is what keeps us up at night. Occupancy isn't as easy to control anymore because there's so many options out there, and it's kind of harder to lease to people that are qualified. We've seen that with COVID, there was a huge just process of people losing.
So now we're moving to market trends and competitive landscape. So let's zoom out a bit and talk about what's happening in the broader property management market, especially across the Southeast where REMG is focused. So from your perspective, what are the most big, like what are the affecting multifamily property managers in the Southeast right now? Are there specific shifts in renter behavior or owner expectations that stands out?
Okay.
And you can talk about like competitive landscape or competition to REMG and why REMG is better than the others.
Okay. Well, There's been a couple of different trends that have affected the Southeast. I think the biggest trend that we've seen that's been affecting the way operations that have affected operations daily is the increase in the interest rates. It's definitely the volatility of insurance premiums. There's also been record high of the new infrastructures. That's making it a lot more competitive to rent. We have to keep up with our mortgage and our taxes and our insurance, but it's been a lot more difficult to rent out to residents because in the landscape, there's so many options. There's the newer buildings that are around the same rental price. So we have to stay within the same market and we can't go down on rent. So the last thing you ever want to do is lower your rent. You want to keep that retention high. And the biggest thing that's causing this is that new competition. There's the new dwellings with different amenities now. You see the dog parks coming out. We see the lower class B, C class properties getting affected the most because of this. Everyone wants the newer, the better. And although there's better, you can't lower prices because of the mortgage and the interest rate. So everyone has to keep up. With REMG, the great thing about the company is that we don't do rental increases more than once a year. We stick to ensuring that we can rent to the lower class and the working class. And we try to make sure that although it's difficult and people are raising rents, we've kind of set our performas to be able to go through a recession. That's been one of the major things. So every time we do take on a new deal, we try to ensure that no matter what happens in our landscape and in the industry, we can still operate.
Okay, very nice. So with that operation, from technical point of view, technology is a key player in modern operation. So what's your take? How do you manage your current properties, etc.?
So in today's world, we pretty much manage our properties through a PSM. We work directly with ResMan, which is very similar to Pickspace, I may say. So everything pretty much gets done through our PSM, and it goes from leasing to work orders to doing move-ins. Everything's pretty much controlled through one system. That has helped us. I think when I first started off, we were doing everything on Excel sheets. So that's completely changed. The lease contracts are automated, and there's just certain criteria that gets pulled from the PSM to ensure that the contract is done clearly, there's no mistakes, and since it is binding and it is why we have our jobs and is why we do what we do, that's been a really important key part. AI has also changed the multifamily industry, in my opinion, in good ways, and there's also been bad ways. The good ways is it makes it more automated. It's more visible. Anyone can log in and see, from the owners to the property managers to the leasing agents. Everyone pretty much works in the same space, so it's easier to look at. The thing that I don't like about AI, or I see that it hinders and it has changed, is that the face-to-face conversation has become a bit harder. And we see it with the newer generation. Everyone prefers texting and emails. And sometimes that has made it a bit harder to keep in contact with the residents. And, resident retention is all about building that rapport with the residents, getting to know them, understanding what situations they're in, just being able to have a one-on-one conversation. And I think with AI, that has changed that in a way, in a sense. Sometimes you don't even get to know who's living on the property. Everything's done manually. Applications are sent directly through a computer, and everyone's filling out the applications and submitting them online, submitting their paperwork online, submitting work orders online, which is a great and amazing aspect that has changed our business, but it also has, in my opinion, some downfalls.
If we will dive in a little bit into the to the tech of it. Any recurring frustration or that you notice or could be better, or do things fall through the cracks, or is it more about usability and support?
I think it is a lot. It has to do a lot with things falling through the cracks. It's easier to maintain a property when you're on site and you're doing everything in office. It used to be easier to be able to just take a paper, right, and um, do a lease and keep it in a file. Now, sometimes you have to do it through the online system and fill out a lease. Sometimes with, let's say we use DocuSign. So when they send out a lease and they don't put an expiration date, there has been times where like renewals are missed. People aren't signing them because they aren't expiring. So it's pretty much, in my opinion, it has to do with things just falling through the cracks. Everything has been a bit more automated, so you can control things better. But sometimes translating what is done on site into a computer, of course, things will be missed, like invoices that people send and still email. We still have those vendors who are still very old school, and they'll come in and give you an invoice. Well, that still has to be done sort of manually and automated, because you still have to go in there and scan the invoice and upload it into your software and then pay it out. So it's a little of both.
I agree. And you mentioned DocuSign, and I think something that I can hear between the lines is you don't have like all in one platform that you can work with. Is it
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. Well, because we also cater to older people, and sometimes they love their papers. They want to come in and sit down. And of course, you don't want to turn them back and say, "Hey, look, get on your phone and fill this out through DocuSign." So yes, we still do it both ways. We still cater to the old ways and then the newer versions.
100%? 100%, totally agree. So if we go to the next question, so when you think about your team's workflow, managing sites, residents, owner, vendors, what parts are most vulnerable and breakdowns or inefficient?
The most vulnerable is definitely the on-site. We all know that the day-to-day operations can look very differently. A lot of times they're dealing with residents moving in, they're dealing with work orders, and they're dealing with volatile residents or people that are unhappy. They're also dealing with vendors that are coming in and out. Now we have a lot more inspections from the cities and from like Section 8. So they have a lot of things that they're operating on site that causes that disconnection and is the most vulnerable, because a lot of times it's seen, especially on site, as they're doing double work, because they have to also operate on site, but then they also have to translate that to an online system.
Very nice. And if we take, you said older people, how are you operating with tenant payments, collection? It's probably not easy for them to go online, but it's important for us to understand how would, leaders like yourself acting around the payments, collections. What's your take, and what's current process you have in place?
Okay. Well, with online payments and rent collections, it's also a mix. We take online payments, different forms. There's all the newer forms, ACH payments, credit card payments. Everything can be done online, and we do offer different online payments. But we also still take checks. We also still take money orders. So,
Wow.
yeah, we still on site. We still have some that are done with money orders, but we have given the managers the capability of scanning them directly into the system. So they'll take a money order, scan it into the resident's profile, and then it goes directly to the bank account. Not too many steps, but we're still giving them that option to pay with money orders. We also work with a third party, which is called FlexPay. which is a very cool new option that allows residents to pay if they're like on a fixed income where they can't pay their rent all in one. FlexPay gives them the option to break down their rental payments.
100%. And the money orders and the flex payment, is it integrated to your PMS, property management software?
Yes, it is.
Very nice. So from leases to vendor management and vendor agreements, tax oversight is another critical and complex area. Let's unpack that. How do you currently manage contracts? I think you manage it through DocuSign, but if you can dive a little bit more into it, and or if it's working as it is, are you recommending, or what would you want to do in order to do it better?
At the moment, we do everything through our property management system. Our contract is pulled directly from there. It takes a few key material like the residents' names, their rent amounts, their security deposit amount, the day it's late, their late fees, and it all populates into our lease. So it's done through our property management system, and then it's sent out through DocuSign. So we don't have to sign directly through DocuSign. So it is sent out through our property management system, which is great. I think the way we've just been trying to make sure that those don't fall through the cracks and to make it more efficient is by setting those deadlines. If people know that there's a deadline that you have to sign it by, it will sometimes people forget or it gets lost in their email, which is where it's sent. For them to re-sign it, they won't do it. But if you see an expiration date, usually that will ensure that they actually get that signed. So our leases are handled through there.
Wow, it seems like you're on it. So thank you, Crystal, for sharing with us all this great information. So Crystal, this has been incredibly insightful. You've painted a vivid picture of the challenges and opportunities in multifamily operations today. Just before we wrap up, what advice would you give to other operation leaders in property management who are trying to streamline their processes, right? Scale their impact and still deliver amazing service to tenants? And yes, stage is yours.
Okay, so I think that what I would say to other leaders is to always keep in mind the residents. We all have different types. We know what market we work in, and we have to ensure that what we offer is something that they'll be able to do. We can only offer as much as we can, but it also has to be easy for everyone that's in that area. So I would just say keep on trying new things. AI has definitely made it easier with the operations, and for them to just continue to push and use new things. We've seen a new influx of different AI material that it seems like it will help streamline a lot of processes, not just like the manual day-to-day operations, but also training. So for the people in operations and management, there's a lot of new things and a lot of new technology out there that we can use to enhance our employees and just continue to make them better at their job and continue to offer them better positions and higher positions.
Very good. Very good. Listen, Crystal, this has been great conversation. For those who wants to learn more about REMG, or connect with you, where are the best place?
The best place to connect with me, I think, would be on LinkedIn. That's definitely where I will answer any questions or any emails. So yeah, you could reach me at LinkedIn.
So again, thank you again for joining us today to the Pickspace AI podcast. And thank you everyone for tuning in. If you find this insightful or helpful, follow us for more. And if you're ready to simplify property management, visit pickspace.com. See you next time.
Thank you.